I talk about nutrient concerns a lot on this channel, potential nutrient deficiencies on a vegan diet, but a viewer let me know that I don't have like a standalone dedicated video on this topic. So here it is. First, I have to give credit where credit is due. Registered dietitian Jack Norris and veganhealth.org. You will see me reference this throughout the video. It is the best resource for vegan nutrition information, whether you're looking for like a quick rundown or in-depth discussion. I can't recommend it enough. Second, this video is not intended to fearmonger, make people just be so afraid of getting deficiencies on a vegan diet. Like, you're not going to become deficient because you went a few days, several days eating less calcium or whatever. Most deficiencies take a long time of consistent, severe underconsumption. Insufficiency is much more likely. Typically, this involves no clinical symptoms whatsoever. You don't have like a full-on deficiency, but it would, be better probably to get more iron or zinc or whatever. We still want to avoid that, right? But it's not the same as deficiency. Third, this video is for adults. I'm not talking about children because they have different needs in certain aspects. I'm also not talking about special populations like pregnancy, certain chronic conditions, kidney disease, anything like that, because we'd be here all day. Fourth and final, I am not a dietitian, so anything I say here that goes against dietetic consensus, take with a grain of salt. We'll start with the obvious one, B12. Of course, plants have virtually none of it, so we have to get it elsewhere. Now, there has been a lot of talk lately, and really for years now, that some plants do contain meaningful amounts of B12, certain mushrooms, duckweed, nori. I actually have a recent video on this topic. Spoiler, they either don't have B12 or maybe they do, but there really isn't enough evidence showing that we can meet our B12 needs with these foods. The only reliable vegan foods with B12 are vegan foods that have B12 added to them. They're fortified, so nutritional yeast, a lot of plant milks, some vegan meats. Now, I personally do not rely solely on these, even though I eat a lot of these foods. I do not rely on them solely for B12, just because your diet may change and maybe you don't realize that you're getting less B12, right? So maybe you eat a lot of nutritional yeast for months, and you eat it multiple times a day, and that's how you get your B12. Months later, you stop eating it for whatever reason, and you forget that that was literally your only source for B12. So B12 supplements are probably the way to go. Luckily, they are very easy to find. They are very cheap. They are very safe, even at high doses. Now, you can take a standalone B12 supplement. There are a million of those, or you can take a multi. Most multis do contain B12, especially vegan multis. They will contain it in higher amounts than your typical, I was going to say Flintstones vitamin. I don't think any of you guys are taking Flintstones vitamins. Absorption rates change depending on how often you are consuming, how often you are taking B12, so make sure you are following the recommended guidelines. For instance, if you're taking it every day, it's like 5 to 100 micrograms. If you're taking it once a week, it's like 1,250 micrograms. I personally take a multi that contains B12. Iodine. Most plants also have very little iodine, like B12. There are some plant milks, like a tiny number of plant milks, and some bread as well that are fortified with iodine. But here in the US, you're not going to find those. Typically, you'll have 3 options: seaweed, iodized salt, supplements. Seaweed is an amazing source of iodine, sometimes too good. Kelp, for instance, has insane amounts. And unlike B12, too much iodine is dangerous. That is definitely something you want to avoid. Also, iodine content varies pretty wildly even within the same species, so it's really impossible to know how much those like seaweed snack packs or whatever, how much iodine they actually have. Oh, and heavy metals. Consumer Lab tested several of these brands a few years ago and found that most of them had relatively high amounts of lead and or cadmium. Iodized salt and supplemental iodine, even though they're not natural and we don't always love that, they're just a lot more reliable. And remember, the way a lot of people meet their iodine needs is with cow's milk, and yeah, not exactly natural. Anyway, a 1/4 teaspoon of iodized salt has about 70 micrograms. That's close to half of the RDA. There are plenty of standalone iodine supplements too, and most multis contain it. Definitely be careful with the individual iodine supplements because a lot of them contain really high amounts. I personally use iodized salt in my cooking, and then I also take a multi that has iodine. Vitamin D, while we can certainly get enough from the sun, we don't always do that, especially those of us who live super far from the equator and we have like 3 months a year with sunshine. And many of us don't like skin cancer, so we wear sunscreen, which may inhibit vitamin D production. Vitamin D supplements are the obvious solution. You can find vegan versions of D2, which is always vegan, and D3. D3 is usually made from lanolin, comes from sheep's wool. You can find it made from lichen. Wait, is it lichen or lichen? I haven't said that in so long, I don't remember. Some processed vegan foods are fortified with it too, like a lot of plant milks are, but to me, it's kind of like B12, right? If you're relying on fortified foods, maybe you change up your diet, maybe you start drinking a plant milk that doesn't contain vitamin D. There are some natural solutions, really one, mushrooms. Those exposed to UV light can produce significant amounts of vitamin D2. Now, where you actually buy these mushrooms, I have no idea. I remember seeing them in a Fred Meyer here years ago. I have not seen them since. I personally choose to supplement year-round with a vitamin D supplement, really with a multi that contains vitamin D. Now, I am temporarily taking additional vitamin D because I didn't really take much this past winter and I got my blood work and it came back insufficient. Now, whether it's actually insufficient or not is another story. Anyway, my doctor wants me to supplement and get checked again, so that's what I'm doing. If you want more info, you can check out my blood work video. And please don't think you need 10,000 international units of vitamin D each day like Dr. Berg and other quack doctors tell you. There's no evidence for this, and it's likely dangerous long term. So yeah, follow the RDA and listen to your doctor. Final thing, fat significantly improves vitamin D absorption, so consider taking your vitamin D with meals. Protein, specifically lysine, the amino acid lysine. This is known as the limiting amino acid for vegans. Just means it's found in lower amounts in plant foods than the other essential amino acids. You may have heard about this study that found a large number of vegan participants did not meet their daily requirements for lysine or leucine. I made a whole video about this and showed that luckily this is a very easy fix. Just eat your beans. Like seriously, that's it. There's some other good lysine sources, vegan lysine sources, but for the most part, it's legumes. Eat your legumes. 3 servings per day, along with the rest of the food you eat, should be plenty, and this should help you get enough overall protein as well. If you're still struggling, a scoop of protein powder is super helpful. We don't need to drink cow's milk. There are so many sources of calcium, like dark leafy greens. You've probably heard something like this before. And while it's mostly true, dark leafy greens is a bit too broad. I still see infographics like this with spinach. Stop. Spinach has a good amount of calcium, but it also has a good amount of oxalates, which bind to calcium, thereby inhibiting absorption. Spinach is not a good calcium source. It's low oxalate dark leafy greens like these that are actually good sources. And I don't know about you, but I don't eat these every day. I basically never eat them. And while I like broccoli and kale, I don't eat them every day either. That's why these other guys are so important, calcium fortified foods like plant milk and tofu. I would bet that virtually all vegans need to eat these regularly, like every day, to meet their calcium needs. I personally do. I make sure I have my cup of unsweetened silk soy milk every day. And I eat calcium set tofu a lot. Whatever fortified plant food you choose, make sure it's actually fortified. There are lots of plant milks that are not. There's tofu that is not calcium set, although to be honest, I don't know if I've ever even seen that in like a regular grocery store. Point is, plant milk, tofu, orange juice that do not have calcium added are not good calcium sources. Omega-3 fatty acids, of which there are 3, ALA, EPA, and DHA. Let's start with ALA, alpha-linolenic acid, since it's arguably the most important. While omega-6 fatty acids are abundant in virtually all fat-rich plant foods, omega-3s, ALA, not so much. Luckily, there are some super rich sources: flaxseed, chia seed, hemp seed, walnut, canola oil. Now, it's not clear how much we actually need. There is no RDA for ALA. We just have adequate intake, which is when they don't have enough data to establish an RDA. The AI here in the US is 1.1 grams for women, 1.6 for men. Just 1 tablespoon of ground flaxseed, how much I put in a bowl of oatmeal, gives me more than I need in an entire day. EPA and DHA. While our bodies do convert ALA to EPA and DHA, and there's also retroconversion from DHA to EPA, pretty cool, they're not very good at it. We don't actually convert much of the ALA we eat to the long-chain omega-3s. So just meeting adequate intake for ALA does not mean you're getting much EPA or DHA. Most people get these from fish oil supplements. Vegans can get them from algae supplements, which is where the fish get it anyway. But it's not clear if we really need to do this. Yes, we do have lower levels than people who eat fish, but it's not clear that this really matters. For what it's worth, I do personally supplement with algae DHA about 200 milligrams per day, but it's up to you, right? It's not like B12. Like, take your B12. Make sure you're getting your iodine. Those are very important. DHA, meh. Some studies have found that not only do vegans have lower zinc levels than omnivores, but that many have levels below normal, below the reference range. This German study found that 42.5% of the 40 vegan participants had zinc blood levels below reference range. And this isn't surprising considering how little zinc they were actually consuming, median intake of just 7 milligrams. The RDA here in the US is 8 milligrams for women, 11 for men. And this doesn't take into account absorption. Phytates in a lot of the plants we eat inhibit absorption of zinc, some other nutrients as well. So similar to protein and also iron, which I'll talk about in a minute, vegans may need more zinc. The German study suggests 10 milligrams for vegan women and 16 for men. This is definitely doable with plant foods alone if you are doing what I said before and eating your legumes. Oatmeal is also a great source. Still, if you are a tiny lady who doesn't exercise, you may just not eat enough overall calories to meet zinc needs. Jack Norris suggests a modest zinc supplement, especially if you are having zinc deficiency symptoms. You're having like cracks in the corners of your mouth. You're getting a lot of colds. For what it's worth, I do take a multi that contains zinc. Similar to zinc, several studies have found low selenium intake and or blood levels in vegans. Going back to that same German study, they found 40% of the vegans below reference range. It's impossible to guess how much selenium they were consuming because selenium content in foods is really poorly recorded, but I'd bet they weren't eating enough, especially considering Germany is known for selenium poor soil. If you live somewhere like this or you eat a lot of food grown in selenium poor soil, I would definitely consider a supplement. Many multivitamins already contain selenium. Alternatively, you can eat just one Brazil nut per day, maybe? Jack Norris is hesitant to recommend this given the variability of selenium content in Brazil nuts and radium. Coder and Keller conducted a literature review of the radioactive radium levels of Brazil nuts. They note that Brazil nuts may have higher levels of radium than other foods due to being grown in high radium soils and because Brazil nut trees accumulate radium. While they couldn't say whether a Brazil nut or two a day is actually bad for us, they did estimate that doing this would basically not change your cancer risk at all. Our suggestion is that if it's just as convenient to obtain selenium from a supplement as from Brazil nuts, then a supplement is the more ideal option. If Brazil nuts are the more convenient option, then one Brazil nut per day seems like a reasonable amount to provide some selenium while not increasing the risk of harmful radiation to unusual levels. For vegans in the US and Canada, we're probably getting plenty of selenium from plant foods alone, without Brazil nuts. Personally, almost every time I've checked with Chronometer, I get plenty of selenium, but my multi does contain it too. Vitamin A is found in a lot of fruits and vegetables, but only abundantly so in certain fruits and vegetables, certain greens, orange fruits and vegetables, of course. A lot of plant milks have it too, listed as either vitamin A palmitate or retinol palmitate. This is preformed vitamin A, which just means that it is already vitamin A, so our body doesn't have to convert it to vitamin A. The vitamin A in plant foods like beta-carotene is pro-vitamin A, which means our body does have to convert it. Which is not a problem, to be clear. I know there's this myth that like no one can get vitamin A from plants because conversion is so low, or a lot of people have a genetic mutation making it impossible. No. Provitamin A from plants is considered a perfectly fine source of vitamin A because the vast majority of people have no problem with this conversion. If poor conversion were so common, where are all of the 10-year plus vegans like me with night blindness? It's just not a problem associated with veganism because very likely we're getting plenty of vitamin A. Now, if you aren't regularly eating these foods, it is possible to not meet the RDA. So make sure you're eating them, right? It's not too hard. One medium carrot is crazy cheap and meets more than half of your needs. Sweet potato, also very cheap, and just a half of a cup of chopped cooked sweet potato is almost 100% of the RDA. Jack Norris recommends 2 servings a day, which is about a cup of orange veggies. Iron is not a concern for everyone since it is found in virtually all plant foods, and most people just don't need that much. The RDA for men is just 8 milligrams. A simple bowl of oatmeal with nuts and fruits provides almost half of that. The people who should be mildly concerned are those who menstruate or lose blood regularly. I don't know, maybe you've got really insane nosebleeds. Blood contains a lot of iron, so you can see the problem there. Since menstruators make up close to a quarter of the world's population, and since the vast majority of vegans are women and probably menstruate, it's pretty important to talk about. Anyway, the RDA for premenopausal women is 18, so more than double the RDA for men and postmenopausal women. This is still absolutely doable on a vegan diet if you are eating your legumes, your nuts and seeds. These tend to be richer in iron than wheat, potatoes, rice. But if you are a heavy bleeder, like lucky ol' me, a supplement might be very helpful if not necessary. I've been iron deficient on and off since I was a teenager, eating meat, vegetarian, vegan. I just don't eat enough iron-rich foods regardless of my diet. But since regularly consuming a multi with iron over the last 10 years, I have not been deficient even through 3 pregnancies. I really can't stress enough though, please do not start taking high-dose iron supplements because you think you're deficient. Iron can be very, very dangerous in high amounts. Even in lower amounts, it's not great to get a lot of it regularly, very likely. So yeah, if you suspect deficiency, please see your doctor and get tested first. And please eat your vitamin C, and this goes for everyone. Our bodies do not absorb the iron from plants as well as the iron from animal products, but vitamin C significantly improves absorption. So if you're having a peanut butter sandwich, have an orange with it, baked tofu, broccoli, oatmeal, strawberries, that sort of thing. Like for ALA, we only have an AI for choline. There's just so little data on choline requirements and choline deficiency. In fact, the AI of 550 for men and 425 for women is based on just 1 study. More studies have been done since, but virtually all of them are only looking at the high amount, the AI of 550 milligrams per day versus very, very low, like 50 milligrams or less. In one of these studies, just 138 milligrams of choline per 170 pounds of body weight was enough to return CPK function to normal. But the study involved a very small number of subjects, all of whom were men. And the study did not look at liver function. In contrast, in another of the studies, it took 825 milligrams per 170 pounds of body weight to normalize liver function. These differences may reflect the fact that there are a number of genetic variations that increase or decrease the need for choline. All we know is that choline is an essential nutrient and that if we get very little or none of it, the liver suffers. Personally, when I check Chronometer, I usually get between 300 and 400. The only times I've met the AI or exceeded it is when I've eaten a lot of broccoli, a lot of tofu. I do eat these foods, but yeah, I don't usually meet the AI. Based on the limited research, 300 milligrams per day of choline, which should be typical on a vegan diet, may be adequate for most adults. But given the uncertainty, we recommend intakes that come closer to meeting the AI for this nutrient, especially for pregnant and nursing women. Until recently, I did follow this advice. I supplemented with choline, I think 250 milligrams per day, because I was breastfeeding or pregnant or could become pregnant. Like folate, choline is important for the early fetal development days. Now that I am done having babies, I am personally not concerned with the 300 to 400 I get. I no longer supplement, especially since this is more than most women get. Yeah, did I mention that part? Virtually no one in the US meets the AI. American men average 402 milligrams, women 278. That doesn't mean it's healthy. Certainly Americans aren't the pinnacle of health, but it's entirely possible, if not probable, that choline really isn't a concern, that we're all getting plenty from our diets, from the little that our bodies make, from the large amount of betaine we eat, or none of us are getting enough, and maybe the government just needs to start fortifying cereals with choline like they do for iodine. I don't know. What I do know is that incorporating eggs into your diet because maybe possibly getting more choline is beneficial does not make a whole lot of sense. So that is it, but very quickly, there are some other essential nutrients that can be lacking in vegan diets, essential because these are not actually essential. They are non-essential nutrients, but you've probably heard them mentioned by various keto, carnivore, paleo people. They're not essential, and meat is a terrible way to get these anyway. I talk about that more in this video. In summation, I remember using that in essays and feeling so smart. In summation, please take your B12, take your iodine, take your vitamin D. You can use a multi for these. Many of these also have selenium and zinc. Please eat your legumes, eat your calcium-rich foods, eat a bit of ALA-rich foods, eat your orange fruits and veggies, and a DHA supplement, maybe a choline supplement if you want. Again, I do take a DHA supplement along with a multi. I take the Deva multi that has iron, iodine, B12, vitamin D, zinc, selenium, vitamin A, and temporarily additional vitamin D. Again, you can check out my blood work video. Okay, I'm done promoting all of my stuff. I really hope this was helpful. I hope it wasn't too long. God, I've been recording for an hour. I tried to condense it as much as possible. It's hard for me to do that. I'm not good at it. But please do keep this video as a reference if you did find it useful. And of course, veganhealth.org, the nutrition tips for vegans page, is just invaluable. And again, he has long articles on every single nutrient, going into more detail on intakes and status for vegans and vegetarians. It's just, again, I can't recommend it enough. Okay, thank you so much for watching, everybody. Please do leave your comments below, and my brain is gone. What else do I say? Like and subscribe, and of course, thank you so much to my supporters, my members here on YouTube, and my patrons at patreon.com/unnaturalvegan. I do post 2 exclusive videos a month for tier 2 members and patrons. I do a vlog, and then I do a controversial topic, something unrelated to veganism. I think actually this month it won't be a controversial. Every once in a while I do a fun one, like, you know, watching. Did I do that? Yeah, I think I did watching my TikTok likes or Instagram likes or something like that. So I might do something like that for this month. Got my IUD last week, and yeah, it was easy until it wasn't. So yeah, I'll probably have a video for the channel on that like months in the future when I have, you know, more experience with it. But anyway, thank you again, guys. New video soon. Yes, I did cut my hair. I just got sick of it. And also, I mean, so long. This has got to be the most I've cut off in one go, I think. But yeah, I was just breaking off on the ends. My hair can't be that long. I don't know how some of these ladies get it down to like their butts and it still looks thick on the ends. That's just amazing. My hair doesn't like that. But yeah, I was just wearing it up all the time anyway. Once it gets to that point, what is the point? What's the point of having long hair if I'm just going to make it shorter? It feels nice so far. I'm sure I'm going to regret it in like a week, because I always do. Partner is very happy. He much prefers short hair on me. He keeps looking at me and I can tell, like, don't do it. He's like, you're so pretty.